Everything dies, Emily. Once upon a time, the Emerson retirement home was an orphanage. The old Victorian stonework set deep within the soft earth housed the unwanted children of countless couples for many a year. Within its walls were secrets and lies told by 1,000 different tongues over 1,000 different days, but some lost more than they had hoped. Others lost themselves. For 40 years, the orphanage had been an orphanage, but it is now no more. Now, instead, it is a home for the equally incapable of taking care of themselves. The rooms, once filled with youth, are filled with the dead and dying. The peaked roofs are high above you, Emily, as you arrive at the Emerson retirement home and start your day. What do?
I ride my bike up to the entryway. Emerson Retirement Home is somewhere I've been coming for the past 8 months to help out during the days. It's been a part-time, but every day. A nice habit, a bit of regular to otherwise kind of irregular life. I hop off my bike. It's a cruiser, light green, and I roll it over to where there's a spot by the entryway that's clear of shrubs and bushes. The grounds of Emerson are not well landscaped, but they do have a gardener, and as Emily rides up, she gives a curt nod.
And Mr. Scott nods back to you. Are you going to lock that up today, Emily?
I forgot my lock at home, actually. I'm just going to be here for a few hours, so I figured it'd probably be okay.
I'll keep an eye on it. You don't have to worry.
Appreciate that. Lovely day. And she kind of awkwardly makes her way inside, like readjusting the strap on her messenger bag. The entryway to Emerson is kind of a little rundown, if you're gonna be honest about it. There's a tiny receptionist desk behind which Cecilia is sitting. She's a woman that's old enough that she could be checked in to a place like this herself any year, but she's got all her faculties still. Cecilia has always been kind to Emily, if a little bit suspicious.
And Cecilia looks up to you and says, "You're cutting it close, aren't you?"
Yeah, sorry, there's just traffic.
Yeah. Tomlinson and a young girl sitting at sort of on the chairs in the front waiting room sort of steps up and walks up to the desk just next to you, and she's probably maybe 5 years younger than you, and maybe 7, 15-ish years old. She's got long blonde hair, timid, and she sort of has those plastic bracelets that kids wear, and she clutches her bag close to her, and she sort of looks down shyly, and she looks between the girl and you and says, "Sarah Tomlinson, this is Emily. Emily, show Sarah around your morning routine, please."
Yeah, no problem. Come with me. And
the
Emily,
young girl sort of looks up at you really nervously and sort of nods.
Emily is not used to having someone follow her around or really being any source of authority whatsoever. She's just kind of usually goes about her duties at Emerson kind of in like a ghost-like manner. She interacts with the residents as is required of her, but this is very strange. And as they walk down the main hall towards the employees' room where everyone's personal items are kept, she sort of glances back behind her at Sarah, who's tailing her.
And she shoots her eyes back down as she was sort of studying the back of your head. What does Emily look like to Sarah?
Emily looks a little bit like Joe. She's on the taller, slenderer side with a dark bob. She's not got any tattoos. She dresses kind of conservatively, and overall kind of a person who you'd easily miss in a crowd. Mm-hmm. She's got some worn blue jeans on and like a gray t-shirt, and her brown messenger bag slung over her shoulder.
And as Sarah sees you catch her eye, she sort of pipes up a little bit and says, where are we going?
Yeah, sorry, Sarah. We're just going to... I gotta put my bag away and put my uniform on. Did you get a uniform, or are you... What's your position here? And they're just walking down the hallway.
Cecilia said, sorry, Mrs. Erickson said that I could borrow one of yours. I'm just volunteering. My parents dropped me off. They said it would be good for applications for school, for high schools.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, come on in. And Emily extends a hand and pushes open the door. All of the doors in Emerson have these windows set into them, so the modicum of privacy that they would normally afford is kind of lost. But this is for everyone's safety. It's a small room, again, decorated probably some 30 years prior. A set of hooks for people's outdoor clothes, some locker type furniture, but there are no locks to these. Emily slides her bag into one of the cubbies and reaches into a bin where uniforms are kept. She sort of shakes it out. It's just kind of a big smock type apron that you wear over your usual clothes. A couple of them are sort of worn around the edges, and she holds one up. Emily's a little shorter, Sarah's a little bit shorter than Emily, so she finds one that's the right size. And
Sarah stands sort of timidly by the door, but eager to help, but unaware of herself, and you could see that she's got sort of a nervous look over her as she sort of looks around the corners, just uncomfortable. And she still holds on to her bag, sort of almost like a security blanket.
You can come in, you know.
You're sorry.
Not from Gately, are you?
No. We're from the next town over. I just wanted to help. I don't really know. This is my first day, and...
Yeah, I know. It's fine. Do you drink coffee?
No. Yeah, I've seen my mom drink it. I can drink some.
You want some coffee? This is, I mean, I'm gonna make some coffee is what I'm saying.
Sure, yeah.
Great.
And she sort of puts on the smock and sort of mimics you and puts her own messenger bag, which is smaller and sort of inlaid with bejeweled flowers and things like that, into her own locker, and she sort of stands next to you as you make coffee.
Yeah, there's like worn linoleum kitchenette off to the side. Um, just a few utensils in the drawer. She measures out the grounds of coffee. It's a really stained percolator. Again, looks like the appliance was probably made in the 70s or 80s. The glass carafe is chipped. And then she kind of just stands there with her hands on the countertop watching the coffee brew, the
And
percolator making those crazy gurgling sounds, and Emily just stands there and watches.
and Sarah, sort of awkward at the silence, just says, "So your name is Emily? Emily?
Yep.
And how long have you worked here?"
I've been here for almost 8 months. 8 months next week.
And sorry.
No, you said you're not from the Gately Institute, so I just,
No,
there's a
no.
program. Anyway, yeah, so basically what we're going to do today is go around and visit all of the residents. We're going to bring them their mid-morning snacks, do a little bit of socializing, make sure everyone is clean and happy, and then we're going to bring them all down for lunch.
Do you like working here?
Yeah, it's been really helpful. I mean, I like being helpful.
And you can see Sarah sort of relax a little bit as the percolator sort of just sounds between the two of you, and she sort of lets off a little bit of a crooked smile and sort of adjusts her baggy little apron type thing.
That looks great on you.
Thanks.
Did you say you're 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like your bracelets.
Thank you. We all wear them at school for different reasons, and if you've done different things, you snap them.
Yeah, it's a sex thing, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And she sort of shyly smiles at you, and the coffee finishes, and you pour 2 cups, and she puts it almost entirely white with cream and sweet until the spoon stands up straight, practically.
Nice. Emily puts about 4 tablespoons of sugar in hers, but no milk, no cream. And she stands there again, and she just drains the whole thing in 3 or 4 big, long sips.
And with each sip, Sarah sort of, shudders a little bit at the coffee taste. So you do this every morning?
Yeah, I mean, it's a habit. It's a good habit. So it's like part of my life that I try to, like, consistency is good, when you're, well, think about it this way, Sarah. When you're like at home with your parents, you always eat meals at the same time of day, right? And like your parents know what your favorite food is, and sometimes you get to eat that on a certain day, or maybe like, I don't know, like you go to school the same time every day, and well, I mean, not in the summer, I guess. Sorry, I'm rambling. All I'm saying is that, like, routine is good and healthy, and schedule is something that it's just really good for you.
And Sarah sort of gets your vibe, and she sort of dodges the question or dodges the subject and says, "No, okay. So what do we do first?" And she puts her coffee down and walks towards the door.
All right. Well, first person that I typically go and visit with is Mrs. Richards. She's just down the hall to the right. So why don't you come with me? Oh, shit, I forgot. I mean, anyway.
That's okay, you can swear.
Good, 'cause I do swear. We have a little cart. So Emily gets the cart out. It's like a little bus bin, basically, on wheels, and she loads in a couple of things. Some milk, a couple of kinds of different juices, a few sleeves of digestive cookies and saltine crackers, things that she knows by now that the residents typically ask for. She loads them into the cart, and she kind of vaguely points behind her. There's a kettle just over there. Can you fill that with water, please?
And Sarah sort of looks around helplessly and grabs what she thinks is a kettle, and she's right, and she fills it up, and very eager to impress you, you can tell, as she's sort of running around trying to almost mimic your actions.
I mean, someone's gonna want tea. Someone always wants tea.
And the two of you are off to Mrs. Richards' first room. And as you enter, the blinds are still shut, which is often the case when you enter these rooms. And she's already up, sitting on the edge of her bed, searching for her slippers as the two of you enter.
Hi, Mrs. Richards. Hi, Mrs. Richards. It's Emily. Good morning.
And she sort of gives you a gauzy, wet-eyed look through thick glasses that sit on the end of her nose.
You're looking well today. Did you want something to eat or drink?
And Sarah sort of wheels the cart in next to her as Mrs. Richards sort of struggles to stand up from the edge of the bed.
This is Sarah. Mrs. Richards, this is Sarah. She's going to be helping me out here today. Can I help you? Did you want to go sit in your chair by the window?
And she sort of like nods and tries to mumble out a yes.
So Emily gets down, finds the slippers, puts them by her feet, and sits beside her on the bed.
And the slippers are like dust covered, and sort of there's like stains of yellow and stuff like that. And I mean, you do your best at this place to keep it clean, but the residents are so dirty, and Emerson has been, underfunded for the last few years, year over year, that at certain times it's gotten to really bad states before a whole spring cleaning, as you call it, gets done, and this is right on the cusp of that.
Just take my arm, please. Oh, hold on. She gets up underneath the old woman's armpit to try to get some leverage, and together Emily and Mrs. Richards stand up.
And Sarah sort of holds her arms, too nervous to actually do anything, but sort of pretending that she's helping.
Together we shuffle over to the armchair that sits by the window. There's a tiny little side table beside it that's covered in altogether too many doilies. There's a little African violet on top, and then there's a second level where there are some jumbo size crosswords where the letters are all 26 point,
and all the pages are peeled over and over
collecting
again,
dust. So together Emily and Mrs. Richards shuffle over, and then Mrs. Richards manages to shakily sit down in
and
this
Sarah
chair.
Sort of says, is that okay for her to be that rough, to lift her that way?
Yeah, it's fine. She just wants to go sit in the chair. I think it's fine.
Okay. And then Sarah sort of walks over, and she's just like, Mrs. Richards, do you want anything to eat? And she sort of just stares at the window.
Open the blinds for her.
Oh yeah. And she does, and the sun sort of cuts through, and the room is much more light, and you see the familiar sign of these dorms that you've seen many times. And for a retirement home of this size, it's a few stories, but it's an older building. From what you know, it dates back almost 100 years, but these rooms are almost designed closer to cells than anything else. The walls are made of concrete in certain areas, probably for cost-saving measures and things of that nature. But over the years, the paint has chipped off the walls, revealing sort of the stone, and she sits sort of looking like a grisly tableau of futures yet to come, as you and Sarah get to unloading the cart with whatever she might require.
So we handle Mrs. Richards' request, and Emily sort of gives a couple of knowing glances Sarah's way whenever something meaningful, some kind of learning experience might come up.
So Emily cares enough to sort of try to be teaching her and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think she's not doing it overtly, but she is like a little bit like, and the blinds, like, you know, the residents like to see, but sometimes they don't think about that for themselves. And the two of them, Emily and Sarah, hang out with Mrs. Richards a little bit, maybe 10 minutes, just visiting with her. Emily asks Mrs. Richards to see her photo album, which is one of her prized possessions, and Mrs. Richards shakily retrieves it from her drawer, her dresser drawer. And the three of us look through it together.
And Sarah starts off with the vigor that you sort of anticipate with a young girl coming into this volunteer position. She sort of plays nice and nods, and as you sort of continue your run and you move on to the next room with the next retiree and the next one, you see a little bit of Sarah sort of fade away, and sure enough she pulls out her cell phone upon the third visit, which is a Mr. Edwards, an old gentleman who always loves talking about his time working at Bell, running lines for the telephone companies. And as he's talking, she pulls out her cell phone while sitting on the bed and sort of starts texting a friend.
I think Emily takes notice of this, but really in her head she's like, doesn't care enough about it in the moment to make any big deal. But after they finish with Mr. Edwards, you know, have a nice morning. We're gonna come back around for lunch.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yes, you too. Thank you so much, and it was nice meeting you, Sarah, as well. And she sort of barely looks up from her phone and says, "Oh, you too, Mr. Edwards," and sort of walks back out into the hall.
And Emily's like, "So, what made you want to volunteer here?"
And she puts away her phone and says, "Oh, well, my parents said it would look really good on applications. So they say community service is important. You have to have community service for high school. So, but where you do it would be nice. And they said that this building is one of the oldest. So they thought maybe it would be something historical." I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. Something in Emily's face has gotten a little bit steely-eyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Where are you applying? Do you know yet? I guess it's a couple of years too soon to figure it out. It's a really big, important move for you to just decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right?
Well, no. I mean, Dad wants me to go to some of the Ivy Leagues. I know it's early, but he owns one of the big towers downtown. He works for Johnson and Cole. He's Cole. So he's basically one of the bigwigs downtown. He wants me to try to be in his footsteps, but I don't know if that's what I want to do just yet.
Cool. Good
and
luck.
She pulls out her phone like right away.
Can you knock it off with the phone? It's pretty fucking rude.
And she sort of is like taken aback for a moment with the swearing. And you see in her face sort of a moment of indecision where she doesn't know whether you see something. You see a tell. And in that moment you see a side of Sarah that,
like, she's not really used to being told what to do.
That she's more biting her tongue because she's very used to telling whoever would tell her something like that to fuck off themselves. And she sort of takes a breath and looks around and says, "Okay," and puts her phone back in her pocket, and then takes lead towards the next room past you.
Emily lets her. She gives like a kind of resigned sigh. She's like, maybe this girl's a bitch. God, I hope I don't have to work very much with her.
And as you enter the next room, Sarah goes to do it, but it's locked. Why is this one locked? And you know this to be the room of Mrs. Smith, an elderly patient who had severe dementia. And normally rooms aren't locked unless...
Well, this is why I'm supposed to be, like, showing you around, basically. This is Mrs. Smith, so something's probably going on with her right now. We should probably ask the orderly. Do you want to lead the way, or?
And she's like, suddenly again sort of flushed with concern. What do you mean? What could be going on? I don't understand.
Oh, you've never... I mean, I guess you're really young, so your grandparents are probably young too. These are probably like some of the oldest and most infirm people you've ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, people with dementia sometimes need psychological intervention, you know. They might be locked in their rooms, or maybe she's been taken to the doctors, so they've closed her room up. I don't know. Are you in there, Mrs. Smith?
And you don't hear anything on the other side of the door. And Sarah's like, "Oh, okay. So where do we go?"
Well, we have to go talk to the orderly. We have to see if her room's supposed to be locked. If it's not, then we have to figure out why. Maybe we're gonna break the door in. That sounds fun, hey? First day, break a door in.
And she sort of gets nervous and just sort of frowns a bit. Okay, let's go. And the two of you head around the corner and you lead her towards sort of the main station desk. And you see where Claudine usually sits, but it's empty at the moment. And you know the orderlies typically would be maybe in the break room around the back.
Mm-hmm. Let's go see the orderlies. And as she's passing Claudine's desk, Emily takes a look at whatever's open there. She's kind of a snoop.
Yeah.
She wants to see if there's like any information about who this Sarah character is, if there's any like application form, or you know, some other kind of like juicy gossip about what's happening at the home.
You know
anyone
that
called in sick today. That's
totally, yeah, and you know that the desk is usually filled with these types of things, especially because Claudine doesn't really. The reason you're so good at snooping is because she keeps things pretty open, and sure enough, on the top you do see a file labeled Sarah Tomlinson, sort of volunteer, and you see the orderlies sort of in the back room, and Sarah sort of stops between the two, and she's like, "Do you want me to ask them myself?"
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
And sort of like shocked that you called her bluff, she's like, "Oh, okay. Do I just? I didn't. Do I just ask them?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she sort of like nervously walks again back to how when you first saw her. Almost, she sort of walks into the break room, and you hear some cheers and jeers.
And as she moves along into the room, out of sight, Emily just kind of takes a quick look at that file.
And you see a story of a cliche white 15-year-old girl with a privileged background. And it rings something through you. And you read this description, and her letter of admission, or rather her letter of volunteer, is written by her father in a voice that you could almost hear in your head. Why?
Why can I tell that it's written by her father?
Yeah.
Oh, it just sounds like every other, you know, financially well-off white man who's, you know, lived his whole life without ever having been questioned by anybody that I've ever met. Just like, kind of like my dad with a tinge of like, you know, my principal from elementary school, mixed with like the person who sells me my cell phone.
And
like,
you can even tell that the signature of Sarah is different than the penmanship of the majority of the letter, based on just where it was from. And as you're looking down, you feel that burning sensation that you've had at many times in your life reading this. And
she takes that.
Yeah.
Emily takes the file.
Okay, so you pick it up, and as you pick it up, you look up and you see Claudine standing before you. And she looks at you with the big, thick eyebrows that you've come to recognize so many times, and she says, "You need to help Mr. Messner."
Sorry?
Come with me. And she starts walking away.
Yeah, so have you met Sarah?
Yeah, leave her. She'll find somebody else. Come on.
All right. And Emily kind of unconcernedly just like folds up the application that she found on the desk into her back pocket and follows Claudine.
Perfect. And the two of you march down to a wing of the retirement home that's pretty much reserved for sort of VIP retirees. Again, because of the state of this place, there's not many rooms. You get special cases. Sometimes they're the most extreme. Sometimes they're the ones with the most wealthy backgrounds. Sometimes they're the ones with extreme dementia that need extra care. And as you walk to this room at the end of the hall, room 3A, you've only been in it one time before, and that was only to clean it after someone had died about 4 months ago. So this is the first time you've entered it since. And Claudine is this large African-American woman who sort of has a bit of an attitude, but always seems to have your back when things go tough. And you can just tell she's not having it today. And she sort of stops at the door and turns to you and says, "We just got him today. He's tricky. And no one else has the time nor the patience to deal with him. He's not difficult, mind you. We don't know what he needs right now, so it's going to be on you. You up for the challenge?"
Yeah, sure. I mean, I only have 2 more hours on my shift. But
perfect.
I have already seen just about everyone. Eileen, what's her last name? I'm so sorry. At end of the hall. Eileen, I haven't seen her yet, but apart from that, everyone's done.
Okay, that's fine. I'll make sure someone takes over. All right, and she sort of knocks and opens the door, and she walks in very matter-of-factly, as you know Claudine to do. And she sort of walks in, she walks over to his curtains and draws them, and as she's doing, she's sort of talking. She says, "This is Mr. Messner. Say hello, Mr. Messner." And you see an old man hunched over in a wheelchair, and he's holding in his arms there's just this tattered black bunny doll, this toy. It's just its fur has been shaved flat, its one ear is ripped and broken, its eye is a bit cracked, and its whiskers are sort of bent, and he holds it and he looks down almost catatonic at the floor. And as you enter his room, again, it looks a bit different than it had the last time you'd cleaned it. It looks similarly to a cell, quiet and plain. You know, the painted concrete walls, again, the white papers chipping, revealing that granite. And his eyes are fixated on the sort of the blank wall between that and the floor as they sort of go up when you enter the room. And she sort of is talking you through Mr. Messner and how he was transferred. But as you enter the room, you get an odd sense from him, a feeling.
Yeah, I don't know, he's just watching me. Usually the residents aren't this alert, but he seems to have sharp eyes. He's watching Claudine as she moves around the room. He's making eye contact in a way that I'm not used to.
Yeah, it seems like almost, while his entire body isn't moving, his eyes are telling such a vivid story as if they're trying to talk to you. And as Claudine sort of continues her sort of run of this man, you pick up a few key pieces of information. The first being that she says, he's a mute, he's not going to talk, and he got transferred here because he's suicidal. He tried to kill himself a few times. He tried to convince some orderlies to give him some drugs so he could overdose. So he's here now under lock and key, and your special careful watch, Emily.
Mr. Messner, how did you manage to convince people to give you medication if you can't speak?
And he sort of is just looking at you. Yeah, and Claudine says, "Don't even get me started. I was on the phone for half an hour asking him the same goddamn thing. But 2 different orderlies ended up coming to his room with morphine pills."
You're a tricky son of a bitch.
And he sort of just continues looking at you and then looking back at the blank stone wall. One of the ways he does like to talk to these people is he likes to draw, and she pulls out a sort of an old leather duffel bag that's well worn, that has WM engraved on them, and she zips them open. We've unloaded a lot of his stuff, but one of the special instructions that came from the last home he was at, and she says she's piling all these papers from his bag, was that he likes to have these hung up. And he's been drawing all night since they had him here. And she points over to the drawing desk, and you see there are fresh drawings done on the desk that he's done. And even though this man looks like he can barely move, the pencil is sort of worn down to its nib, and all these drawings on this sort of faded yellow paper are sitting around the drawing desk. And she unloads these papers and puts a big stack of tape on top of them and says, "So they asked that he could have them hung up. And guess what, Emily? I picked you." And Claudine goes to move towards the door.
All right. That's fine. I sort of sent Sarah into the lion's den asking her to talk to the orderlies about Mrs. Smith's door being locked. Would you mind checking in on her for me?
That girl, let me tell you, I saw her the minute she came in. She could use being knocked down a peg or two. I'm glad you did it.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
You did good. I understand these timid little types with the silver spoon in their ass. The minute you cross them, they snap at you like nothing else, and they deserve to get a taste of the real world every once in a while.
I hear you. All right, well,
sort of nods
see you soon.
Shuts the door, and you're left alone with Mr. Messner, who again sort of is like looking at you as you move around the room.
All right. Well, my name's Emily. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Messner. I hope that you and I can become friends, because that's what my job here is. And, well, let's give it a go, shall we? I guess you don't talk much, but I like your bunny. And she kind of nods at the rabbit that he's holding.
And his eyes sort of glance down at them and glance back up, and they're very expressive eyes. Despite his facial features never changing, you get a lot of emotion from them, and you can sense immediately there is a sense of warmth that he feeds from you, and vice versa. And I think he appreciates the compliment to his bunny.
Did you want to do some drawings right now? Shall I bring the paper over, or you just want to hang out while I redecorate? Sorry, I should probably ask yes or no questions, right? Okay. Do you want to draw right now?
And as you're talking, his eyes shoot over to the stack of already drawn pictures. And you can, again, sort of get the feeling between him looking at that and the wall that he's more interested at having you hang them.
All right, I get it. Well, you hang tight. And Emily moves over to the desk, and she sort of picks up a handful of images and spreads them out on the tabletop to get a look at what sort of art she's dealing with here.
And at first you're a bit confused. It doesn't seem all like art to you. It seems to be two common drawings in different forms. The first looks like a rectangle. A smallish rectangle, or even just a square. It's drawn in many different ways. It's drawn with different styles and different details. And as you sort of look through all these drawings, you set them aside confused because they're not making too much sense. They don't seem like all that much. The second drawing, which you see a few copies of, and these are the fresh ones that he's done, are a series of 4 figures. Stick figures is what you would guess. And they seem like they're smallish, maybe children, maybe short people, and they each have something sort of unique about them. It looks like one is holding a toy of some sort, one is wearing glasses, one has long hair, and one looks like they're something is wrong with their hand for some reason.
Oh, this is fun. This is so this is like a little team of people. Is this your family, Mr. Messner?
And he sort of looks at you and looks back at the wall across from him.
All right, I get it. You're not the talkative type, more so than I would have thought. And Emily busies herself tacking the paper up, and as she does so, she's sort of talking to him and then sort of to herself almost. She's like, you know, these aren't half bad. They're sort of got like a frenzied quality to them, I guess. I don't know what your dexterity is, manual dexterity, but these look like they would do anyway.
And as you're hanging them, you move on to the pile that Claudette pulled out of the bag that he had brought with him. And these are the same 2 pictures, but in more detail. And as you begin hanging these, you sort of separate them into 2 sort of groups. And it becomes very clear that while the second one is 4 people, one with some sort of object in their hand, one with glasses, one with long hair, and one with something in their hand, that the other drawing isn't just a square or rectangle, but it's a door. And as you pile through these, you notice that some of them are more and more detailed.
Sorry.
That's okay. Scared me. More and more detailed drawings of a door. Oh, you muted yourself.
Yeah, because of the
That's
dog.
okay. That's okay. Is he so excited?
Yeah, he's heard one footfall that wasn't mine. Sorry, so I've noticed that all of these
drawings are of a door, and as you pour through them and get to the lower ones, what you can only assume are the older ones, they become more and more detailed to the point where you stop at probably what you would say is the most detailed door. And something sits uncomfortably with you as you look at it.
Did you want this one up? Maybe closer to you? It seems like you spent a lot of time on this picture. This is a door, right, Mr. Messler? Where is this?
He looks at you sort of again with like a knowing look.
Interesting. Emily's not really sure how to respond. I think she's getting a little creeped out, actually.
And the door, as you look at the picture, it has sort of something scratched into it. And it's become clearer at various versions of it as you've been moving through it. The more rough ones were just sort of the outline of the door. The more detailed ones sort of had it in sort of scribble. But as you look at this most detailed door with sort of the lines and the knocks in the wood that compose it, you see a W scrawled on the surface of it.
A W on the door. Do I recognize it? Is it a woman's washroom?
No, but you do recognize it.
This is clearly a door in this institute that I've seen before.
And you sit down remembering that. So you've seen this door before for some reason. And as you sit down sort of knowingly thinking about that, his eyes grow wide and wet watching you as you study the door with sort of a furrowed brow.
This is beautiful work. I'm just gonna I'll put this up here, and she puts it up beside the bed. And she's frankly kind of unnerved. It's like, Mr. Messner, where are these real doors?
And he looks at you with an intensity, and while his head doesn't move, you can tell that he's saying yes.
How can I tell?
Something about it you would never want to say supernatural because it seems so outside of Emily's mind, but something about the way he's speaking to you makes you feel confident in his answers.
So he's speaking to me non-verbally.
Yeah. But again, so little is changing. You feel mad about it. And as you consider what you said when you walked into the room about the orderlies sort of getting him things that he needed without ever being able to speak, you get this eerie feeling sort of run up your spine at the fact that you feel like you might understand him despite him not being able to talk, just through the emotion that he's conveying in his eyes.
Emily gets a shiver that starts the top of her scalp and sort of crawls all the way down her body. Ooh. All right. Well, It was very nice to meet you. I hope you like what I've done with the place. It seems like you do. I'll be back shortly to help you come down to lunch with everyone. You're gonna love the food here. It's so good.
And as you're saying this, you're sort of backing towards the door.
Yeah.
And his eyes are sort of just staring intently at you. And the wall that you've sort of created for him is this sort of haphazard pasting of all of these drawings layered on top of each other of the door, and all of these drawings of the four figures standing next to each other.
Stranger Things style.
Yeah, and as you exit to the hall, you sort of get a breath of fresh air back into reality as you still think of his eyes sort of staring at you in the other room.
She actually like puts her back against the wall just outside of his room and takes a couple of long, slow breaths. Okay. It's just some pictures.
You okay? And as you sort of jump up, you see Chris, one of the orderlies that you sometimes take a smoke break with, sort of lean out from a hall with a bit of a smile. Are you all right there?
Yeah, sorry.
Heavy day?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go outside. Did you want to come?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you wanted to. You owe me a smoke.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, let's go.
And the two of you head outside for a breath of fresh air, and the once beautiful day, it's now sort of graying over sky, and you walk out to sort of this landing which overlooks the parking lot in the front of the building, which was probably invented for this idea that these orphans at one point could get some, skylight. So it's sort of almost like halfway up the building.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of you hop out, and Chris holds an expectant hand waiting for his cigarette that you owe him.
Yeah, she drops one in, and then she thinks about it for a second, and she drops another one in, and she's like, I got a story.
Yeah? And he lights it up as he leans on the balcony.
And Emily has the habit that a lot of people do when they go through certain institutions of smoking really fast. She'll kill a cigarette in like 3 inhales within the space of 2 minutes. So she's taking these long, deep drags of her cigarette, and like the smoke is just coming out of her nose and out of her mouth and sort of like billowing all around her head as she's talking to Chris. And she's like, I was on my way here this morning and I hit a squirrel. With my bike. Yeah, that's never happened before. Because like you figure you're on a bike, right? You can stop, but I didn't. I couldn't stop, and I think I killed it. I couldn't look back because it just freaked me out way too much. Have you ever done that before? Killed an animal with a vehicle by accident?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this one time I was driving up to my cottage, and it was sort of late in the evening at the sort of dusk time, and Emily was asleep in the side street, and
I'm sorry, Emily was asleep.
My wife, yeah, I was driving. Yeah.
Sorry.
What, you thought she was awake?
No, I just doesn't seem like the type to, let you do all the hard work. Anyway.
Different Emily. I know you guys. She goes by Emma after this, or M normally. But anyway, she's in the side street, falling asleep. The kid's in the back. She's asleep, and I'm driving, going up there. It's dusk, and I hear this pop, and I think tire or something like that. No. So I pull over the side of the road, and almost immediately, I wasn't even going that fast, and I hit this crow. I could see it in my lamplight. So I get out. They're still asleep, luckily. Obviously, it wasn't that loud. And I get out, and I walk up to the front of the thing, and it's sort of struggling. And I'm thinking, what do? Do I leave it? Do I kill it? Is its neck broken? Is it going to repair itself? It was a tough decision.
What'd you do?
Well, I stood over for a while. Thought long and hard about what I'd want if I was in that situation. And then I walked to the side of the road, grabbed the biggest rock I could find, and I crushed its head.
Did Emma wake up?
No. I don't even think I really told her about it. Next day, I think I mentioned that we hit a crow, but I didn't tell her that we stopped and I killed it.
That's kind of fucked up.
Well, sometimes I think about it. Sometimes I think maybe it was a wrong call. Maybe it would have helped itself. But sometimes you got to make the call, whether it's right or wrong. You live with your decision.
True, true, true.
What had you so spooked? You were outside Mr. What's his name? That new guy?
Messner. I was just gonna ask if you met him.
No, I haven't. He seems weird.
Yeah, he's got all these drawings. I feel like I've seen this door before, and it must be some kind of fucked up coincidence. It's like an old-timey door and has a W scratched on it. You ever seen anything like that before?
No, I don't recognize anything like that. Oh, you know, it's funny though. You said there was a W scratched in on it?
Yeah.
You want to hear something really weird? Maybe about 4 years ago, we had this old woman here who used to be a part of the orphanage back when it was a thing.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and she said that there was a door in the basement, in the boiler room, behind one of the boilers. She said it was a small door, and it had a letter in it. And she used to go on and on and on and on about it, just nonstop, talking about this door and how she never would go through it, and how some about the kids that did, or I don't know. I never saw no door down there though.
That sounds like a hallucination. I mean, whatever. Kids, I'm sure lots of crazy shit happened when this place was an orphanage.
Yeah, I heard there were a lot of reasons it shut down.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you ever go look for it?
No. I've been every inch of that boiler room. I didn't see anything. So either the door never existed, or it just doesn't want to, I don't know.
You're saying that the door doesn't want to be found.
I'm saying a crazy old lady said whatever the fuck she wanted to say because she had dementia and she was reliving her glory days. I don't fucking know, but you mentioned door with a letter. Weird. Maybe he saw it, eh? Maybe there is a mission for you, Emily, yet. You still got an hour left in your shift. Maybe you'll give an old man some peace and quiet. And he flicks the butt of his cigarette off the balcony, and it sings down to the parking lot below. Anyway, you take care of yourself, and don't be so jumpy next time I want to smoke.
Yeah, sorry. All right, I'll see you around.
And he exits, and as you stand on the balcony, you consider what he was saying. You've been in the boiler room before, haven't you?
Yeah, there was one time when a resident who this was near the beginning of Emily's time at Emerson, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. There was a time when one of the residents went wandering, and no one could find him. He wasn't in his room, he wasn't in the dining room, checked everywhere, checked everyone else's rooms. The people who he might go visit, they had orderlies canvassing the neighborhood, and Emily ended up going down to the basement to see if she could find him, if he had made his way down there somehow accidentally, on purpose, or just in a flight of fancy. There wasn't anyone down there. A lot of cobwebs, but she's been down there.
And when you were down there, do you remember anything about a door?
It was so long ago, and Emily was really kind of stressed out at that time in her life, dealing with some shit that she doesn't remember a lot from those first few months. So I think as Emily finishes up the last of her cigarette, and she's looking out into the like strong sun It's getting hot outside. She wants to go back in the AC, and she sort of decides, like, I don't really want to go see that fucking new girl, Sarah, again. Maybe I'll just go and see, like, what's going on in this basement door. She's, like, makes a dare to herself, because it's kind of creepy down there. And she wants to go see if she can find it.
You enter back into Emerson Retirement Home, and you take the ancient elevator down to B, the basement, which is filled with pipes pumping leaky steam into the air. Down here it's always been damp and sweaty, and the engineers of the building, or the maintenance workers rather of the building, are down here fairly often. Their office is off to the right. As you walk down the hall, you see them playing cards in the room, and as you walk back to sort of the darker areas of this basement, you get a sense of recollection. You remember walking down here looking for the man who went missing. You remember turning the corners and the labyrinth-like stone-walled structure as you sort of navigated through, and almost on instinct you walk, turning left, turning right, turning left to a large open square in the back left side of the building. And you stand there, presented with 3 large boilers that sit against a full concrete wall behind them.
Emily is kind of bemused, like, they really don't make them like this anymore, and approaches one of the boilers. She extends a hand towards it, almost wants to see if it's hot to touch, and how hot would it burn her.
And they're all cold to the touch. They all seem maybe disconnected, like the new systems that they've installed here are no longer reliant on boilers. And you sort of laugh to yourself, but as your eyes flick down, you see something. Behind the middle boiler, in the wall, you see a glint of wood.
Probably some kind of treasure chest or crate, I bet. Or someone's been storing their nudie mags down here. Emily goes around the back to see what's up.
And with about a 2 to 3 foot gap behind the middle boiler and the concrete wall behind it, you see a narrow space. The boilers sort of sit up and then belly out halfway through. So it's an area which you can crouch in, about a 4 foot height with 3 foot of depth. And as you sort of crouch behind it, the pieces between the boilers creating sort of a passageway, you see a door in the concrete. It's covered in dust and cobwebs, and a large W is drawn on it.
That looks exactly like that crazy old man's drawings. Huh. I wonder. And Emily blows really hard into the space behind the boiler to try to clear away some of the cobwebs. It's super ineffectual. And she, like, covers her hand with her sleeve of her, I guess she doesn't have sleeves on. She takes her apron off. She, like, rolls it into a ball and uses her apron to, like, brush away the cobwebs as she moves toward the door.
Yeah, and you navigate through them, like cutting through vines in a jungle. And as you walk through slower and slower, you hear the ticking of the pipes high above your head sort of squeal and quench, and the silence of the basement begins sort of sending a chill up your back. The dim flickering yellow light that illuminates this room sort of flashes on and off as you move towards the door, and before you know, you're sitting across it with your back to the cold boiler. The door is maybe small enough that you would have to crouch through to enter, and just wide enough for yourself.
What's the handle like?
It looks like a single brass handle, rusted, with a key lock on it. And the W now looks like it's been carved into it.
Like, skillfully or
No.
kind of with some
You,
random implement?
yeah. And you get an eerie sense of dread staring at this thing, and also a sense of familiarity. And as you sit across from this door, you realize that you hadn't just seen this before in passing, that you've sat here before. That when you looked for this man, you came down here and saw this door and sat with your back against this boiler, almost just as you had.
Emily's first instinct is that this is some kind of residual hallucination, something left over from some substance, maybe, and touches all parts of the door.
And you feel it. You feel the grain of wood beneath your fingertips. You feel the stone around the edges. You feel the cold brass of the knob. And as you touch the W and you run your fingers along the carvings in it, it almost feels warm to the touch.
She knocks. And it's like, it's kind of like a fuck it, why not?
Yeah. And your knocks sound hollow, as if there's space on the other side of it, like a wet, murky space that sounds almost echoey.
She reaches out and tries the knob. Is it locked?
It is. It sort of just jiggles a little bit, but you can, and you sort of pull it, but it's locked tight.
She doesn't have any hairpins in, though she is quite an adept thief. So she's out of ideas as far as how to get this door open. She jiggles it again with one last go and then sort of shrugs to herself. It's probably nothing.
In the next moment, you're back upstairs, moving between doors, finishing the last of your shift. You wheel into the last woman on your sort of floor roster, which is Mrs. Cola, and you go in and you put the muffin on her tray, but all the time you're thinking of the door.
Well, have a nice morning, Eileen. Sorry.
There.
I forgot the newspaper today. I promise I'll bring today's newspaper tomorrow and also tomorrow's newspaper tomorrow. I'm going to bring both of them for you.
And she smiles at you with a big toothless smile. That's okay. And she looks down and bites into her muffin and
she eats it like really alarmingly fast. And then what does she do? Emily goes back to Mr. Messner's room.
So you turn the hall to Mr. Messner, and you see at the end of the hall 3A. And again, as you approach, you get this sense of dread with familiarity and uncertainty. What is Emily feeling as she approaches the door to Messner's room?
She equally wants him to be there and doesn't want him to be there. Because she wants to learn more about this door. She wants to solve the riddle for herself, but she also just kind of wants to go outside, have another cigarette, get on our bike, go home, forget about this, that it ever happened, get back to the routine, something that she knows is safe, something that's not gonna damage her.
And as you stand on the corner of the hall towards Messner, approaching, you sort of hear the beeping on your watch, and you look down and see that it is pretty much time to leave. And you turn to see the hallway, which leads to exit and to the bike and to everything that you know and trust. And you see towards you, which is Messner's door, and answers maybe to questions.
She sort of says, "What the hell?" and turns the corner and looks into Messner's room.
And he's sitting there. Again, his eyes immediately meet yours the minute you enter the room, and sort of with a tear dripping down, his eyes dart over to the top of his dresser. And as you look over to what he's looking at, you see a sort of dark purple metallic key.
Emily doesn't say anything. She starts taking slow steps into the room towards the desk, towards the key. Looks over at Mr. Messner once.
And again, his eyes sort of almost begging you to take it.
She continues, reaches out a hand, picks up the key, and she says, "I'm not stealing this from you. I'm going to return it. I just wanted to see if it fits. I'll be right back."
And as you turn towards the door, slowly again, you turn the knob to the door and open it, and you hear a click. And you turn around to see the bunny that Mr. Messner had been holding, sort of tossed towards you on the floor.
Tossed?
And his eyes, yeah. Even though his hands are still almost like he was holding it, the bunny sits between the two of you. And his eyes look down towards the bunny and back up towards you.
You dropped your bunny. And she picks it up and takes a couple of steps towards the bed. It didn't fall very far, but she's kind of reticent to approach him. It's not just the old man funk. It's also like she's kind of afraid of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the bunny reminds her of a toy that she had when she was young. And she cradles it comfortably in her arms. And she says, "Do you mind if I take Mr. Bunny for a walk?"
And you can tell, again, his eyes, now wet with tears, are begging you to take him as well, the bunny.
He could use a tour, I'm sure. Does he have a name? Well, I'll bring him right back. And maybe I can do some repairs. She fingers like the loose eye on a thread dangling.
And he sort of looks one last time at the table, and you realize now he's done a drawing since you had last left him as well. And it's probably the most articulate drawing of the four people. And you see for the first time the four figures, the detail of which they have is a bit clearer. The one figure isn't just holding a toy, but he's holding a bunny, similar to the one that you have. The second figure has glasses, but they're big, bespectacled glasses, thick rims. You wouldn't be able to see without them. The third figure has long black hair tied into sort of a ponytail, and not a ponytail, a braid. And the last one, his hand is holding a catcher's mitt, and he looks towards that and towards you before you leave.
This is you then, I guess, with the bunny, I'm sure. Do you want me to take them with me? She untacks one of the photos or drawings that is closest to her and folds it up and puts it in her pocket. So we're all gonna go on a walk. Your art and this key and Mr. Bunny. I'll be back soon. I have to leave shortly, so I won't be gone long.
And his eyes sort of... Again, you feel such a connection to the way he's trying to speak to you that you almost feel like he's wishing you luck. in a weird way as you shut the door. And you ride the clackety elevator down to the basement holding the bunny. Almost, you know.
I realized while I was in the elevator that I'm a 22-year-old woman who has dealt with some shit, who is like in a retirement home holding a stuffed rabbit and a drawing that looks like it was done by a child and a key that I think will lead me into a wall in the basement, and I just feel foolish.
And as you feel foolish, the doors to the basement open with a clacking, and that steam again once hits you. And the room is now empty from the maintenance guys playing cards, and as you step off the elevator and it ascends back up,
she makes her way toward the boiler room.
And as you crouch once again behind it and crawl towards the door and sit with your back against the boiler and hold the key in your hand, one last thought goes through your head before trying it. What is that?
I think this bunny's name is Hobson. Probably. And God, I hope there aren't any spiders back here.
And you slide the key into the brass handle, and with a click you turn it. And the door opens inward, and what you see and smell is sort of an earthly, wet, muddy scent, almost of clay.
Ew.
And looking down, you see it sort of looks almost like a hole. But at the far end of it, there's this light, this blue, inviting light. And it smells past that, as you can feel sort of this breeze coming from it. The light smells almost like fabric softener.
Emily pulls out her Bic lighter and flicks it and holds it into the opening, feeling the cool, moist air on her hand and wrist, and trying to see a little bit into the opening.
And yeah, you see the clay is sort of thick and round, and the way that the tunnel sort of goes almost looks sort of wavy, like it was man-made.
Well, Hobson, what do you think? Should we investigate? I think it's probably just some kind of root cellar. Looks like it goes outside. I don't know. I mean, what? Worst comes to worst, I just have to go around the front to get back in. Or I get stuck in this hole and starve to death. They could probably hear my screaming, though. And she crawls into the hole.
As you begin to crawl into the hole, you think of Mr. Messner. And Messner is an old, feeble man. But amongst all others that you've dealt with, he reminds you of someone in your life. For some reason. Who
Mr. Messner does?
Yeah, he reminds you of your own grandparent.
He reminds me of my granny, Nancy, who I miss.
And when as you're sitting there about to crawl in, you think of Messner and you think of Nancy. And you always had a regret with your grandma Nancy, did you not?
Yeah, Emily regrets missing the passing of Nancy. That she was too busy in her life when Nancy was ailing and in her last days. Her parents tried to tell her that she had to go see her grandmother one last time. Emily kind of remembers it through a haze, because it was a haze. Days sort of blurred into each other. Remembers getting a phone call from her parents saying, "Despite what's happening to you right now, Emily, It's your fucking responsibility. Graham and Nancy has been asking to see you. And Emily doesn't even remember what she answered. But she does remember that she got high again that afternoon, just like every other afternoon. And that next day, she was gone.
And as that thought ripples through your brain, and the eyes of Messner remind you so much of the eyes of your grandmother Nancy, still alert, still active in her age, you swallow hard, thinking of maybe this being your chance to do something right for someone, to do what's right for someone. And you crawl into the hole. And as you begin moving into it, sort of heel over heel and on your arms, the light at the end begins to fade and get darker. And as it gets darker, the door behind you slams shut, and you're bathed in darkness.
Fuck. Emily looks behind her and is jolted from this reverie about Graham and Nancy. Ugh, I better not have just locked myself in here. Goes
you try
back.
to turn around, but you actually can't. It's sort of becoming really tight where you're at. And as you sort of sit there and you don't feel like you're moving, it actually feels like the walls are sort of coming in closer to you. And all of a sudden you're stricken with panic, and you begin to hyperventilate and freak out. And as you do, you feel this sort of thin film touch on your face, and it becomes tight against you, and with your hands you sort of push on it, and it breaks, and a small hole begins breaking as it rips apart your head sort of around your face, leaving sort of the wet clay on your face. And before you realize it, you tumble out onto wet moss.
She screams a little bit.
And as you do, your scream echoes, and you open your eyes, and you're sitting, sort of lying rather, in a fetal position in a forest of sorts, but you only recognize it a forest because of the ground you lie on, the moss-covered ground filled with stone and wet, moldy, rotten trees. All the trees around you are burnt down to their nubs, or thin strands of what were once live trees. A haze fills this world, a fog thick as you can see, and the sky is gray above you.
She's like wiping residue from her body, bits of clay and some sort of slimy film, and looks all around, kind of just terrified, and realizes that Hobson is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. And as you look around, sort of panicked and confused, you see that the hole that you came out of is no longer existent either. It looks to be completely gone, and you're standing alone in this wood. The ground, there's creatures and bugs sort of crawling around your legs on the ground as you stand up.
Help me!
And your voice echoes off in every direction. And just as you feel most alone, you hear a voice from above you. And it says, "You're lost, aren't you?" And as you look up, you see a creature, thin and black, 6 foot tall, and it's perched on a burnt limb of a tree. Its ears are sort of bent over and broken. Its teeth are jagged. Its whiskers are broken. Its eye is cut. You can only see through one eye. And it looks to be sort of a long humanoid bunny of sorts. And he looks down at you, smiling, and says, "I can help you. I know the way out of here." And we're going to stop there for the mid-game post. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Invictus stream. My name, as always, is Mr. Harlan Guthrie, and I am here with the very talented Ms. Jo Fallak.
Hello.
I am doing sound effects, Joe, so I know you can't hear them, but you don't have to worry, there is clapping going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight with a brand new story game called Wither. I hope you are enjoying it so far, for there is many more story to come from this game, but it is of course the mid-game post, and because we sort of didn't do the beginning, this is the part where we get to stop the action and jump to all that. And yeah, how's everybody doing tonight?
Yay. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah?
How are you doing, Harlan?
I'm doing good. I need to take my pill.
Yeah, you do.
I saw you post that.
Harlan's sick.
Very sick.
But he still shows up for you guys. That's how dedicated he is.
Dedication.
To Invictus. He shows up just for you.
How you doing, Joe? You having fun with this game so far?
Good. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having fun with Emily. I'm having fun with being in a retirement home. I used to volunteer at kind of a similar situation to this, so I'm like kind of reliving some old memories.
Using your IRL experience. That's the good stuff to do.
Yeah. I mean, Emily is a different person than I am, that's for sure. But
well, she looks like you apparently.
She looks like me. It's just because I wasn't gonna dress up for tonight, so it was like Joe's Emily, as it turns out.
Once the colder weather comes, you're gonna be dressing up like a madman.
Yeah.
Promise me that. It's just because it's so hot in your apartment.
I just don't have AC, so it's like 27 degrees in here. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Deal with it.
Double it and add 30. That's my rough estimate. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Yes, this is the mid-game start of Game Post, so it is an 18+ show. It's going to be very 18+, probably, depending on what subject matter we get into.
I think especially this show is going to be kind of dark. I mean, if you haven't guessed already.
Yeah, it's an 18+ show. I want to first and foremost, let's do MVP.
Yeah, we have a lot of new people in the Discord chat. We have new people on Facebook this week. Lots of new additions to the community. So welcome to all of you.
Welcome everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome to the middle of the show. I wonder why this one above everyone else.
Welcome.
If you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video. It makes us feel really, really special. And there are 20 people watching, but only 19 likes. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. I thought it was good. I didn't check. I kind of went in blind. Kind of thought it would be... Yeah, whichever one of you hasn't liked it, you make sure you like it right now. But yes, MVP. Oh, I should do all this properly. Please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group. If you are not a part of the Facebook group, you want to be. It is the coolest place to be in the world.
Join us. We post lots of GIFs.
Lots of GIFs. What is this?
I don't know. I'm giving my arms a break.
Yeah, me too.
They're tired of hanging down. They want to hang up.
They want to hang up a little bit. Yes, join the Facebook group. When you join the Facebook group, you have the chance of being the most valuable poster of the week, which is basically the person that we like to honor throughout the week with being just the most creative or funny or sharing the most information. And this week, I would like to give it to the one and only Mr. Tyler Leonard, who is a new person.
Nice job, Tyler.
Just joined like a week ago or something.
Yeah, not even in the last, I would say, last 4 days.
Yes, but has been so super fantastically active in the community. He's asked some great questions. He's put some great thoughts forward that I'm so impressed with that level of interaction that we just have to reward it. So well done, Tyler. You win most valuable post this week.
For the new people, the new fans, new subscribers, new people talking to us on Discord, you can use XP in-game to influence events. In a story-focused game like Harlan and I are doing tonight, there's a little bit less to do because we're going to be rolling for fewer things. I don't even have the Dice app open tonight, but in different games that we play, you can use Discord to spend the XP that you earn for interacting with the community, and you can make the game run a specific way. I've seen people influence the weather. People have made bad guys slip up in hilarious ways to let the heroes escape. Last game, I believe Langdon spent an XP to heal Harlan's character, which was awesome.
And I really needed it.
Yeah, you did. You got gored by a zombie stag.
Oh yeah, that's right. Death House. Yeah. Death House. Yeah, so there's lots of ways that you can use XP to influence the way we play. Typically it's for more again, it's the summer right now, so we're doing a lot of one-shots because people are on vacation and things like that. So it's a little less, but when we get back into chapters of the Undefeated, which is definitely coming back, and some more long-term campaigns, the XP is going to be really important and really valuable. So stuff to consider is just being cool and getting MVP.
So in order to earn XP, you can earn it in 3 ways, I believe. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, you can. It's the MVP is the most valuable post.
Throughout the week, whoever is interacting on Facebook in a way that pleases us. Then we have mid-game post right now where Harlan will be posting a question about the game so far that you can submit your answer to on the Discord. And then we also give 1 XP out at the end of the game, endgame XP. That's for people who are interacting on Discord. So Smolders and Colin, you are both doing great jobs as new people, bringing up cool points, chatting with the regulars. I see we got Bjorn, we got David Johns, we got Jeff on. We're hanging out with Chris, Sparrowhawk, Talax, lots of regulars here. It's nice to see you all hanging out. It's a little bit harder with this story-focused game to give the Discord the same attention that we usually would because we're busy trying to carry that weight, you know?
Boy, you got to carry that weight.
I feel like, Harlan, you are like a koi in a pond, and all I have to do is throw you like a crumb of a song, and you go up to the surface and you grab that fragment of a song.
Take me to the river, drop me in the water. Is it a bad thing?
No, it's a great thing.
It's the best thing.
I wanted to compare you to a goldfish.
I appreciate that because I eat until I explode. That's actually pretty apt lately.
Do goldfish do that?
Yeah, they eat until they die.
I don't think they do.
Well, we'll see. Mine did.
Dad
said mine did. How did mine die?
Harlan has created a separate stream on the... Are they called streams?
I don't know what they're called. Separate Discord channel, maybe?
Yeah, channels. A separate channel underneath Wither called Mid-Game Post. If you're new, you can give your answer there to the mid-game question, and we'll wrap that up in a minute or 2.
Yeah, still got stuff to talk about because I want to mention 2 really important things. 3 really important things.
What?
The first, and I would argue the most important, is, ladies and gentlemen, it is Joe's 1-year Invictus anniversary.
Shucks.
And we absolutely have to celebrate that. Tomorrow, she started streaming with us 1 year ago, and it has been such an amazing year. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks
for joining us.
It's been such a wonderful time.
It has been. It has. It's tough not to sound sarcastic in doing that, but it has been. So congrats, Joe, on your 1 year.
Congratulations, really. You've been such a great addition.
It's been such a great time. No, but thank you, and glad you're with us. So that's really fun first info. Second info is a little bit more selfish, possibly. It'll depend on Joe's schedule come September. But I want to mention to everybody live that I am going to Queen City Conquest, which is in Buffalo, New York, on September 7th, 8th, and 9th. It is a weekend convention. It is a small convention. I'm pretty sure it's like tiny. Like, I don't think it's going to be...
Let's not call it tiny. Let's call it like personal.
It's personal.
It's like a personal size convention.
Intimate.
It's not family size, it's personal size.
It's like a personal pan pizza, which is like a large or an extra large.
For gaming.
But for gaming. But it's very intimate. But anyway, it is a very personal-sized pan pizza intimate convention in Buffalo, New York that I'm going to be attending, and I'm going to be running a few games at.
So exciting.
So you can currently join my games. I am running 3 games. I am running End of the World, which I left vague. I called it End of the World something.
This time it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, well, I didn't, because I didn't pick the system. Like, I didn't pick aliens or zombies, because I basically I'm gonna be like, what do you guys want to do?
Oh my god, who is gonna be playing at that game with you?
Okay, well, so far I'm pretty sure that's... Oh, I should read this out, actually. Let's find out. But anyway, I'm running that.
I'm sorry, it's just so exciting because you're going to have broodlings at your table and you're going to have to create characters with them, about them, so it's going to...
I know.
I'm so excited.
Me too. So anyway, I'm running the End of the World. I'm running Don't Walk in Winter Wood, the Witch's House, which I'm going to frame after what we did, but I'm going to use the same thing, so it's going to be different. And most importantly, I would probably argue, I am running a brand new Call of Cthulhu adventure that I have written myself that has never been streamed before. It is entirely new. So if you join the stream watching Call of Cthulhu and you like Call of Cthulhu and you want to sit down at a table with me to play Call of Cthulhu, come to Queen City Conquest, September 7th, 8th, 9th, sign up for one of these games and sit down and join. So far on the End of the World, I have Brianna, Michael, John, and Rin. Two couples of the stream are going to be there, which is going to be fucking awesome.
So fun.
So fun. And then for Call of Cthulhu, I have Chris, Brianna, Michael, and John. I'm really concerned that Rin hasn't signed up for this, because you do know, Rin, that like Call of Cthulhu is your jam, right? You
basically, Harlan said, "Yeah, I want to run Call of Cthulhu because I would be honored if Rin was at the table." Absolutely.
I want you to take notes. I want you to get all the connections to all the other characters that you've seen and stuff. So that is the 3 games I'm running right now. I've sort of reserved those 3 spots. If there are more people that want to join and those games fill, let's talk. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to probably post to the patrons, and I'm going to be like, hey, are there any patrons that want to get on more games? And if they do, I will probably open another game for patrons.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
and,
because
I'm still maybe going to be joining the roster.
Yes.
Depending on whether I can get time off from work. Probably going to happen. I'd say we're at a 90% probability. And 90%. If so, then I'm going to have, what is it, 4 games at minimum that I'm going to be running?
It's 8 hours, so I did 3 games with a 3-hour, 3-hour, and a 2.
I'm just going to do one 8-hour game.
8-hour game.
It's going to be like it's going to be like a sleepover theme. You're going to come to our hotel room, and you're just going to play board games with us.
Fucking dope. And that's the really important thing too. So Joe and I are going to be there, and we're going to be there for like the weekend. So you guys want to grab dinner one night? I know Chris said she wants to do a garbage plate.
I'm crazy about karaoke.
I definitely want to do karaoke. You know me and karaoke. This is
INVICTUS karaoke.
You literally said I'm like a goldfish that picks up threads of songs. So I definitely foresee a night where we get pissed drunk and go karaokeing and all this kind of really fun stuff, and probably eat a garbage plate. So if you are interested in any of that, which you really fucking should be,
come on down.
Come on down.
The convention's going to be amazing. Really good people running it. Really good people who are hosting stuff there. We're going to be on panels. Come and hang out.
And even if you don't, for some crazy reason, get into one of our games, we're possibly going to be sitting on a few panels as well. Yeah. So you're gonna see us, or you can, you'll run into us even if you don't want to come out for an evening or whatever, or
we'll go get breakfast.
We'll get breakfast. We'll do breakfast. We'll make it work. We'll Broodly meet up.
We'll do brunch.
This is the first Broodly meetup, so I'm really excited. And this is like in stone now. I get to meet you guys. I'm really fucking excited. I should also mention that Fan Expo, you can also meet us, which is the weekend before that, because Carly's coming to that, and probably Jeff.
So exciting.
So we're also going to be meeting.
Jeff, are you coming to Fan Expo?
I'm guessing you probably will. I can't imagine you wouldn't.
Maybe. I don't know. Tickets are pretty expensive for Fan Expo. That's the other thing, like, amazing thing with the Queen City Conquest, is because it's smaller scale. You don't have to pay like hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go.
I don't even know how much the tickets are.
I don't know, whatever.
They could be $200. You liar.
I think it's like $75 for the weekend or something.
Nice. Well, anyway, but I should mention Fan Expo is the same deal. If you want to come out, grab some drinks, hang out, play some games, let's do it. Carly, I think you're coming, so that means we're gonna party. We're gonna definitely karaoke around there then. It's a lot of karaoke 2 weekends in a row.
You gotta conserve your voice, especially when you're GMing too. Like in those loud rooms, when I GM for like a whole con, I lose my voice. Anyway, it's gonna be fucking fun. $50 for 3 days, Chris says. It's a really good deal for some con action.
Yeah, cool. And you're also helping out a friend of ours, Effie, who's running this stuff, and she's part of the group as well. So, welcome to Colin Burkhart, by the way, who joined the stream just now.
Yeah, he's on the Discord. He asked me to approve him. I was like, I got you. I'm gonna run there.
Dope. Perfect. Do you have some celeb on the internet? Do I have some celeb on the internet?
Celeb?
Like celebrity? I don't have any celebrity on the internet.
You and me? Internet celeb? Why do you ask?
Smolder says, do you have some celeb on the internet?
Little celeb. Mini celeb.
We not have even. Micro celeb.
This is our celeb. These 20 people watching right now.
The 20 people watching are the extent of our celebrity.
People that like us. No, we're I would say we're underliked. Let's just say that.
Underliked?
Yeah, like we're liked, but like less than we should be.
Yes, I would almost say we're more liked than we should be.
Well.
Anyway, and the last thing I wanted to mention is tomorrow is Thursday, so Friday night we're doing a spooky stream.
Oh hell yeah!
Ooh. And we don't know what we're playing yet, but I think Joe is going to be hanging out with me. I think we're weeping. Yeah, well, we're going to both be doing it. I'm a personal size.
What?
That's what Carly said.
Yeah, personal size Harlan.
How do we have 30 likes now? Now we have 30 likes for 22 people watching.
Because people are amazing. Widely known in small circles, Scurvy Dan. I like that very much.
I like that name, Scurvy Dan. Sounds like a song. Scurvy Dan, Scurvy Dan.
Doesn't sound like that song.
Holy shit, that sounds like a song to me. Scurvy Dan. I gotta do that.
I need some, like, it's like an Irish one, right? It's like an Irish. I'm thinking of some like fiddles in the background. Well,
like this is welcome, Scurvy Dan.
We're thinking of different songs.
I'm thinking like welcome, Scurvy Dan.
Yes, this is a game like Coda for sure.
Scurvy Dan. Yes, it is very much a game like Coda, but that doesn't mean that it's not gonna be. It's gonna be a lot more exciting than Coda.
We have mid-game post XP to give out.
Yes.
What was the name of the new volunteer at Emerson home? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 correct answers.
I want to give it to Chris or Godpool because they had her last name as well.
Okay. Why don't you roll for that?
A fitty fitty.
Fitty fitty.
A fitty fitty. 1, 2 goes to Chris. So 4, 5 goes to Godpool.
Hey.
Godpool Gryffindor.
Attaboy, Godpool. Get him.
Wait, get him. Go get him. Get him, Godpool.
Cute.
Yes, cute. Very cute. Man, I'm so excited for all these. Why are there so many new people? Oh, is this all tonight?
Yep.
Today at 8, we got 1506 Cha, Robert On Knoll, J Funk, Shannon Howe, I know, Smolders, Master Machine, Scurvy Dan, and Pedro.
Scurvy Dan.
Scurvy Dan. Scurvy Dan. There's it's like Valerie, Valerie. Isn't that a song?
Yes.
It's like a German song.
It is.
You're German.
Yep.
Is it? Don't you know all the songs because your heritage is German?
I know every one of them.
All of them? What about Edelweiss?
Oh, especially Edelweiss. I know that twice.
Edelweiss.
I just need a guitar. I'm gonna pluck it really gently. Blossom of snow may bloom and grow, bloom and grow forever. Yeah.
I wonder if we were singing at the same time.
Edelweiss. I
Because
don't know.
on my end, it sounded like we were.
Oh no, definitely not. Not on my end.
It didn't
Who
sound
knows
like we were.
what they get to hear? It's kind of a fun mystery.
On my end, it sounded like we were perfectly on top of each other. So everyone tell me whether we were on top of each other. It's really important. Ready to try to pronounce my name again? No, I'm not. Godpool was like,
See, he secretly did get you to try to do it.
Yeah, we basically were.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Colin, we have 4,200 subs on YouTube. Only 20 actually show up. These 20 are
the best.
Like, I know for a fact that everyone here on the Discord have little wings going on, little halos, special powers, angels of powers, right?
They're basically Beyonce in online form.
We got 20 Beyoncés here.
We got the most Beyoncés. They're basically Beyonce meets Mr. Rogers meets. Rin says, "Oh man, I don't know if I could handle it. I was thinking of just watching and trying not to squeal so much. I'm going to overthink everything. God, I don't know."
I don't know about how Queen City Conquest is going to be, but for BreakoutCon and Fan Expo, they don't super welcome like
watchers. But I don't care. But I'm running the game. I'll be like.
I just know that typically it's really crowded room. So if Harlan's table is like in the middle of shit, it might feel awkward to you if you're like standing there.
Let me tell you, Rin, it's okay. No matter.
I just wanted to know.
But you know how much of a force I will be if I want Rin at my table, and I don't care who is. If they're like, "I'm sorry, but you can't have more people," I'm gonna be like, no. She can sit next to me.
I need my social anxiety Rin. I have paperwork for her. Actually.
I need to pet her when I'm nervous.
Pull up another chair, please. I need this person here for me.
For real though, like even if they were like flat out
onto me, prescribed for me,
diagnosed on me.
Yeah.
If they were like, no, I would. You're gonna watch. If you want to watch, you're going to watch. I just think you should play because. How many chances are we going to get to play together? Like, maybe next year, maybe, but maybe never again. Maybe I'll die.
Hey.
I've had a lot of health problems lately.
All right.
I could die like that.
So could all of us.
Well, but I could die quicker.
Is this a race?
Yes, I will die.
A suicide race?
I will die so goddamn quick. Anyway, so I think, Rin, you should join. But that's up to you. Either way, you can join the table. You ready to go back to this?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
All right. Let me blow my nose.
All right. I'll allow it.
Will you now?
Good. That was a good one.
You like that? It did it, guys. I blewed my nose. Without further ado, we return to Wither. The black bunny sits high in the tree above you. Its fur is shaved short and weathered, just like it was when you had it as a doll. Its whiskers are sharp and pointy. Its eyes are almost human, one broken, with a sharp cut through it. It jumps down off the burnt branch and lands next to you and offers a hand towards you. I'll help you up.
Sorry, I just need to get a little bit of perspective here, and I think that continuing to lie down is probably a good idea. Where are we? What? You're a talking rabbit, and I think I was just at work.
It's all right.
I'm sorry. What's
It's okay.
happening?
Listen, I don't know really, but I've been here once before with Billy, and I know the way. You're lost, and I think I know the way out of this wood. Oh, at least it was once a wood.
It's changed.
Quite a bit, actually. When I was here, it was tall trees. Now they look all burnt.
Talking to a fucking rabbit. And she reaches out and grabs his hand.
And he helps you up, and he's, again, maybe 6'3", this tall rabbit. Again, he's got humanoid-like features, almost.
So
and
spooky.
His fur is entirely black, and he's got this wide, gaping grin. You're Emily. You gave me a name. You said I was Hobson?
Yeah, Hobson. That was the name of my rabbit when I was little. I thought that was appropriate. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were going to talk to me. Am I stoned right now, or...?
No. That's all right. Hobson's perfectly fine. I don't remember my other name.
Okay. So you said that you know how to get out of here?
Right. Yes. I've been here once before. Like I said, it was much different, but I can show you the way out. I think maybe we need to leave these woods. They make me feel weird and eerie.
Yeah, me too. Alright. Let's go.
Why are we here, Emily? He says as he starts leading the way. Did you bring us here?
Yeah, I did. I was trying to do a favor. Can I remember what happened before?
Yeah.
What is my mental state like? Am I, like... I don't know. It's hard to imagine that she would be dealing with this and, like... just calmly, you know?
Yeah, tell me how you're dealing with it. Do you need a second? And he notices that Emily, you stopped, and he sort of turns around and sits cross-legged, maybe 5 feet from you, as you're standing on the mossy earth. And again, you're looking around at the burnt trees. Moments ago, you were in the retirement home, crawling through a small door, and now you're in seemingly another world.
Yeah, Hobson, I need a minute. This is kind of fucked up, you know? It's like we were just in the retirement residence, and you were just Mr. Messner's stuffed animal, and I decided to take you out for a walk and look for this door that he was drawing a lot, and now we're in some kind of horror-scape, and frankly, I've had a lot of trips, and none of them have looked like this.
What do you mean, a lot of trips? Trips where?
You wouldn't understand. Doesn't matter. That was a while ago.
Mr. Messner, do you mean Billy? Did Billy give you... Did Billy give me to you?
Is that Mr. Messner's name? Billy?
Yeah, Billy Messner, yeah.
Well,
he's who I
yes,
came
he did.
With. He's who I came here with before.
Oh, well, that makes sense, I guess. He was the one who gave me the key for the door. So, was there a door last time? Do you remember?
I don't remember anything until I was in here. I remember parts of the other world that you talk about. I remember being held by Billy. I remember he wants something from us.
Do you remember how old he was?
When he was here the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just a little boy. Maybe 7.
Was Billy a sad boy, Hobson?
No, not until... No, not until he left here. I can show you the way. Let's keep moving. I remember this. And the bunny sort of seems aloof. and sort of confused, and like he's trying to remember things, and you see sort of his, you know, his brain is a bit mushy and sort of soft. You can see indentations
like
in his
sort
head.
of banged in one side.
Yeah, it is, and his ears sort of flopped over, and you can tell he's struggling, and he sort of leads the way walking towards you, and he sort of has this weird mix between almost like a man in a rabbit suit mixed with a real rabbit with its facial features, but there's something human about him as well.
Okay, what do you remember about this? You said that it used to be a big forest, and now it's all burnt and stuff. She looks around at the landscape. Is there any like ground litter, or is it just sort of trunks of trees?
Yeah, it's just like moss, stones, broken trees, trunks. Yeah, it's just sort of all versions of a forest that have been burnt and fallen over. And he sort of trudges ahead of you. Again, it's filled with this hazy mist, this fogginess that's sitting around everywhere, and he's sort of just walking in a direction, sort of talking to himself. He's went over here, I think.
Hobson.
Was there? Yeah. Yes.
Was he always not able to talk? When he was little, did he talk to you?
Billy used to talk to me all the time. And he sort of stops and he turns around. That's what Billy was missing. You're right. No, now I remember. I remember Mr. Messner holding me, and he dropped me, and he handed me to you. He wanted you to bring me so I could tell you, so I could speak for him, because he couldn't speak. Billy lost his voice. When he came here, he lost his voice, and he wants us to find it for him. He wants us to find him something to help him. He wants to be helped. We need to find it for him.
You have to find the voice of an old man that at the retirement residence.
No. We do. You want to help Mr. Messner, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I do. That's like my whole thing. There is just to help people. So.
He's been so long without his voice. He's had so much trouble living without being able to speak. He wants it back. And I remember they came here. The four of them, they came here with me, and
oh, four of them. And she reaches in her back pocket and pulls out the piece of paper with the drawing of the 4 stick figures.
And he walks over to you, and his looming figure sort of sets you uneasy. He just has this sort of animal quality to him that feels so uncomfortable. His eyes are human, but as you get close to him, you see his short fur is sort of wet and slimy, and he reaches out his sort of claw, which is this half human, half animal claw, and you sort of recoil a bit as he sort of reaches for the paper, but he almost doesn't realize how you perceive him. And he says, these are them. These are Billy's friends. They were here.
Is that you there? She points at the little bunny.
And a big sort of, again, toothy grin gleams across his face. Yes, that's me, back when I had my... And he sort of touches one of his big ears that's sort of broken and damaged. Back when I was in my youth. Yes! And he sort of hops over like a little thing, and the ground sort of shakes a little bit, and he says, yes, we need to help Billy. Let's help Billy and get what he needs. Come, it's just this way. And he continues sort of through the woods.
Okay. Wait up a minute. She's like, starts to move a little faster.
Yeah, and as you do, he sort of is ahead of you a little bit. And as you're walking through these woods, what do you feel? What's going through Emily's head?
Emily's never really been in the wilderness before. She took a family vacation once when she was maybe a little bit younger than Sarah's age, maybe 12 or 13. And they went to some place she doesn't really remember the name of, but it was like beachy, you know? And her parents, she just remembers them driving around and commenting a lot about buildings, and you know, she just kind of, she feels uneasy that she's the only person walking around here. And she starts to feel lonely, which is like kind of a trigger for her, and she gets like Jonesy about it a little bit.
And as you look up, you notice that Hobson is gone. That the mist, he sort of just disappeared in the mist before you.
I think Emily, having identified that this whole situation's making her uncomfortable, and then feeling that creeping urge come from the peripheral of her mind, she's doing some of the things that her sponsor told her she should do. She's like starting to do something with her hands, just keep her hands busy. So she's like, she doesn't have anything. She pulls the pocket out of her jeans, and she just starts like pulling out the seam a little bit, each of the stitches with her fingernails, just to get her hands busy. And she doesn't really realize it, but she started to walk in a big wide circle.
And as you begin sort of panicking a little bit and keeping yourself busy, you hear Hobson. Emily, are you coming? And just from the mist, sort of standing eerily next to a burnt tree, you see him all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm coming. Where are we going? You disappeared. Where did you go?
I'm sorry. I got excited and I moved a bit fast, I think. Here. And he reaches his, like, clawed, sort of wet paw towards you.
No, don't touch me.
And he sort of brings it back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. Are you all right?
Yep. Super fine.
And he turns around and sort of begins moving. And he stops a short distance away and looks down and points. And sort of in the ground, there's this deep chasm, but it's very thin, like it's been cut into the earth with a deep hook. And the earth around it sort of blooms out and bends away, almost like it's a wound. And it runs. And he says, "This is the path." And he sort of points.
That's a path?
Yes, this is the path.
Leading where? Leading out of here?
Leading out.
Okay. Do we have to go down in there? It's really little. I mean, you're very skinny, but...
No, this is just the way out. This is just what it is. It's just a path.
Okay. Let's go.
And he begins sort of taking a back seat as you two walk, and he sort of walks with his head down a little bit and says, "You know, Emily, when Billy was afraid, he would hold me very tight. Are you sure you don't want to hold me?"
Yeah, I'm sure. Billy was a little boy, and I'm not a little boy. And your fur is slimy, so it's gross. I won't be doing that.
And he sort of looks down and sort of like brushes it away with sort of his like claw, and he looks at his claw. "I'm sorry. I don't mean to frighten you, Emily."
Were you also different last time?
Yes, I think I was.
Well, I'm sorry, but we all change as time goes by, I suppose. So, you're good company, though. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Do you know what we're supposed to be looking for? What did he find last time? Do you remember?
I'm sorry, I don't. I remember that they followed the path, and they went past the fields and into the woods. To the house in the woods, and I know Billy. I don't remember. And as he's talking, you hear sort of a slapping. And
slapping.
Yeah, sort of like a wet slapping on the path ahead of you, and it sort of catches your attention. And as you turn around towards the sound, and the sort of mist sort of separates a little bit, you see some large stones off to the right of the path. And your eyes sort of adjust in sort of the gray light, and you see this creature. And it looks to be sort of a human. It has 2 arms and a head, but its entire other half is stuck under this rock. And its face is, it's sort of, instead of having any sort of definition in the lower half of its mouth, it's just a jaw. And its nose is gone, and it has 2 deep slits, and its eyes are almost completely black. And its fingers are sort of webbed, and as you look at it, and you see that its skin is sort of dark red and pinkish, you see it slapping the ground and scooping things up and eating them. And slapping and scooping and eating. And it sort of looks up at you and continues slapping.
Oh my God.
I don't know what that is, Emily.
Neither do I.
What is he doing there? And you see Hobson sort of walk over and lean down a bit. What are you eating, sir? And the thing just keeps slapping and scooping them up. And as you sort of approach, you see that it has these tiny little... There's sort of these mushrooms all growing around this rock. And at first you think that he's just grabbing the mushrooms harshly, but you see that they're actually alive. They're these little tiny creatures with dome heads, and they're just walking around, and they're thick, and some of them have been squished, and their insides have sort of been splatted out, and their insides are sort of this red blood color, but the mushrooms are sort of moving around, and they have little faces and expressions, and as he grabs them, you can hear their little scream as he scoops them up and puts them into his mouth.
Does he seem to be making any kind of facial expression apart from just being kind of focused on what he's doing?
He sort of looks at you with sort of a confused misunderstanding, and then continues doing what he's doing. It's almost animalistic in its nature, and it looks like the latter half of its body is trapped under this rock.
Hobson, does it need help? What are those things? And she gets a little bit closer to see that these are little creatures. She's like, oh my God.
And yeah, as you walk around, you see this is sort of like a sea of creatures that extend around the path, and they're cute, little adorable. They almost have human-like features. You know, they have little noses and little smiles, and their eyes are bright and colorful. And sort of as you're looking, you know, he reaches into the pile of them, and they all sort of scatter away, and he sweeps up a few and crushes them and eats them, and you can hear the little screams sort of over the creaking trees.
Run! Run!
I don't think they can hear you, Emily.
Get away from this thing! Go! And she's like, picks up a couple in her hands and like tries to move them over to the other side of the path.
Yeah,
she's like,
and
what are you doing?
Some of them do, and some of them are like, oh, and they're kind of making little like sounds of like happiness as you like move them to the other side of the path, but the most of them sort of are just continually walking towards this thing as it's like slapping them down and scooping them up and eating them.
We have to stop this.
Why?
It's eating these little guys.
Is that not all right? Is it?
Well, they're screaming. Listen. Oh!
And you can hear they're just like 1,000 little screams. And Hobson says, maybe we should try speaking to this creature.
What are you doing?
And it sort of looks at you, and it sort of stops as you tell it to, and it sort of looks at you.
Just leave them alone.
And it slaps its hand down again, killing a few more and scraping it up, and licks it.
Stop eating!
And it sort of just continues to do it, sort of confused at what you're saying.
Hobson, what do we do?
I don't know. I don't think it understands.
Ugh. I'm gonna be sick. And she rushes over to the side of the path and throws up.
Yeah, and you do, and you sort of, you know, you throw up as you see this sort of macabre scene, as these creatures sort of both unaware of what they're doing. The creature trapped under the rock, this sort of animal creature, seems to be eating these things greedily without understanding that it's taking a life, or perhaps understanding it, and these small lives dying needlessly, and in some cases walking towards their death without understanding it.
Emily's like, after she finishes, she's like, oh, sorry, can we go?
Of course, of course. This doesn't need our intervention.
Okay. Can we go now?
Yes, of course. And Hobson continues walking down the road. And as you do, and the mist behind you sort of parts, you see that this is one of maybe 3 or 4 similar creatures, all trapped under large stones, all scooping up these innocent mushroom-like creatures and eating them greedily as their jaws are sort of dripping with the red blood of their creatures. And
she starts to run.
Yeah, and Hobson sort of runs alongside on all fours, almost like an animal. And as you break through the trees and enter sort of a like wet dirt muck, the two of you stop, catching your breath. And Hobson sort of stands up. Emily, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Ugh. If I think about it too much, I'm going to be sick again. But those little creatures... Ugh. I'm sorry.
Why didn't they try to help themselves? Why didn't they stop going towards the creature?
I know. Yeah, that's... Ugh. Sorry. I'm going to become a vegetarian.
It's all right. Let's take a break. And Hobson sort of steps off the path, and you sort of exit the woods, and there's sort of this soft, muddy hill towards, and it's sort of filled with fog at the moment, and he walks off the path and he sits down on an object, and as your eyes glance over, you see it's this rusted car, and next to it is a bucket of sort of murky water with a sponge sort of leaning over it, and he sits on the hood of the car and he says, Emily, why don't you take a break?
Yeah, I will.
Are you all right?
Yeah. It's like an old Chevrolet, and she can tell that despite the layers of mud and dust, that it's a dark gray color. And she knows almost before approaching it and looking in the window that it's the kind that has a bench seat in the front. And the pit of her stomach sort of falls out.
And Hobson sort of watches with curious regard and says, is something wrong with this? And he steps back and sort of looks at the car as well with a curious regard.
No, I know this car. That's so weird.
Why do you know this car?
It's my old neighbor's car. Yeah, my neighbor. He loved this car. He used to... What? He used to stand outside and wash it. All the time. He loved this car so much.
And did you like your neighbor, or?
He was okay. He was, he had a daughter my age, so I used to go over a lot and, play.
Oh.
His name was Gary. I'm sorry, do you mind if I, and she's like starts looking around for a rock.
No, of course. And he sort of steps back.
I just need to destroy this car, if that's okay with you.
And he sort of looks a bit shocked, and he says, No, of course, Emily, whatever you need. Do you want me to help?
I would love that. You know what? I would love that.
And Hobson sort of smiles, so happy to be of help to you. And he says, I can find the biggest rock.
The biggest rock that you can find.
Oh, right. And he walks to the edge of the forest and sort of disappears for a minute.
And she kind of casts around on the ground for a minute, and she finds kind of like a hand-sized rock. And she also finds like a big stick. Thusly armed, approaches this car and starts wailing on the driver's side window. She puts a couple good cracks in it and breaks the window eventually. And she stops. And she still doesn't hear Hobson coming back. So she tries the door. She tries the handle.
And it's open.
And she opens the driver's side door. And she, again, she uses the branch to like scrape some of the broken glass off of the driver's seat. And she stands there for a minute, and then she sits down in the driver's seat of this car. And then she puts her head on the steering wheel and she starts to cry.
And as you cry, and your tears sort of dot the upholstery with sort of that hollow pluck, you hear Hobson emerging from the edge of the trees carrying just this comically large rock. Just this immense rock. And when he sees you, he drops it and walks over. And he sort of bends down, and again with sort of this almost scary face that you're starting to become familiar with, he says, Emily, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just a second. I just need one.
Okay.
I'm okay. And she reaches over and opens up the glove compartment. Almost without looking. Reaches all the way across the wide expanse of the front seat. And she pulls out a bag that she knew would be in there. It's hard candy. And she opens it. And she leaves the bag on her lap. And she unwraps a candy. She has one. And she gives one to Hobson.
And he sort of takes it and, watching her actions, unwraps it. No, he just eats it with the plastic on.
Yeah. And she's like, okay.
And he says, he sort of reaches the hand in and it touches you, but for the first time you don't really recoil at it. And he just sort of says, Emily, you're not alone anymore.
Did you get a rock?
I got the biggest rock I could find.
Okay. Let's fuck this car up.
And a moment later, he's standing on the hood, dropping this massive rock right on the front end of it, and it smashes and crashes through the windshield and the front hood of the car, which sort of honks a few times, and it dies.
And Emily's just like kicking the door, like ineffectually just kicking the car.
Yeah, and the two front tires pop, and the whole thing
like
sort of
knocks off the side mirror with
Yeah.
a big stick, and yeah, they spend a few minutes just trashing this car. And afterwards she's like sweating and like, okay, you're pretty good with that thing, hey Hobson. You're strong for a scrawny little rabbit.
I get my strength from you, Emily, I guess.
Thanks. Whew. Okay. Wanna go?
All right, if you're ready.
Yeah, let's go.
And the two of you are walking up the sort of carved path in the hillside towards the field at the top. And as you reach the top, the mist now the mist now has sort of parted, and you see an ancient, or rather a dilapidated windmill sitting in a field of rotten pumpkins. And the windmill sort of turns so slowly, and there's sort of pieces falling off of it, and an empty sort of doorway with a door staying off the hinge, but the path tends to go right to the door, and then it looks like it branches off as you and Hobson sort of walk arm in arm, or side by side, towards it.
So, through this pumpkin patch to the windmill, is this ringing a bell for you?
I think so. Yeah, yes, I do. I remember. I remember the four of us. Well, the four of them: Billy, Erica, Tommy, and Ben. They all came this way, and I was helping, and then beyond this place was the building, I think.
Oh, there's another building. That's cool. Alright, well, I mean, I don't know what's up with all these pumpkins, but, alright, should we just go in? We're like wandering through this field, following this deep crack.
Yeah. And as you sort of approach the door to this windmill, you get this sort of eerie feeling. And Hobson sort of looks towards you and looks towards the door, and he says, I think something's inside.
Do you hear something?
Yes, I hear something moving.
Okay. Do you think it's dangerous?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna go in.
Okay.
And she opens a door into a dark room.
And it's a round room with sort of a broken staircase going up, and this room is filled with just mess, but it's on the outside. And it smells. There's stink and sort of rot and sort of scribbles on all the walls, but it's so dark in here. All the windows seem to be covered. And as you sort of enter, you see a figure, an old man sort of cowering in the corner, so scared.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Is someone there?
Yeah, hi. I'm Emily. Who are you?
And he walks towards you, sort of like almost like stumbling across the floor, which again is just so littered with shit and stuff. And he sort of enters the streak of gray light from outside, and you see him, and his eyes are white, completely blind, and he's got long gray hair and sort of a gray beard, and he's gaunt and thin, and he sort of just looks at you and says, please, you have to help me. I need to leave.
Yeah, me too. We can try. Are you okay?
No, I don't even know what's okay anymore. And Hobson sort of says, Ben? And he sort of turns his head towards the sound. Who is that? And Hobson turns towards you and says, I think this is Ben. This is one of Billy's friends.
Oh. Sweet.
And
Ben, this is Hobson. You might remember him as a giant rabbit.
Billy, is Billy all right? Did Billy leave?
Yeah, Billy's fine. I actually came here because Billy asked me, to come here. Ben, are you the guy with the glasses or the catcher's mitt? I would show you this picture, but I feel like you're not going to be able to see it.
And he sort of sits back on like a pile of refuse and just sort of sighs. Billy got out. Thank God.
Yeah. What's up, man? Are you... how come you didn't follow him?
I tried. I tried so many years ago. I tried so many times to find the exit. It doesn't let you leave unless it's done with you.
And it's not done with you.
I
don't. Sorry. I shouldn't have laughed. That was rude. You can come with us.
I'm not whole.
What do you need?
There were 4 of us that first found the door. Billy, Erica, Tommy, myself. Erica swore that it was never there before. She swore that she had never seen it behind the boiler. She played down there 100 times, she said, but there it was. At first we couldn't figure out how to open it. And then Billy had a key. It was there. It was on his dresser one day. Never before. He didn't even know how it got there, but it was there. Like he knew he needed it. We tried it the next day and it fit, and we decided we would enter to see what we could find, and it was beautiful. Beautiful forests, fields, flowers. A town, a castle, kings, miles to discover, to explore, a world rich. But it wasn't real. It was all a trick. He showed us the world that we wanted to see, full of love and happiness, but not as it was. He took what was inside of us and he projected it. He showed us what was inside of us. The world became what we felt, how we felt.
Who's he, Ben?
He. Whither? One by one, it took us. Tommy fell asleep in the mist. Erica fell. Billy, we tried to leave. I lost my glasses in the pumpkin patch, and he sort of turns vaguely in the direction. I couldn't find my way back, but he left. He got away. And he got away whole. You must leave. You must leave before you leave anything here.
Okay. Okay. You can come with us if you like.
I've lived so much of my life here. I wouldn't know what to do otherwise. Surviving on what I could find, eating what I can. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a handful of those mushrooms as they scream and squeal, and he bites them as the blood sort of drips down his beard.
Emily like, oh!
And he walks towards you. I don't know what I've become anymore. You must leave this place. Leave. And leave
Hobson?
entire. And Hobson sort of backs towards the door. Let's leave, Emily. Let's go.
Okay.
And he's like biting them again as they're screaming through his teeth, and little squeals as he's like stepping towards the door.
I'm putting a moratorium on funky people.
After this, sure. After this game. Leave. Leave now while you can and never come back. And as you step out the windmill, he slams the door and you hear it lock. And you hear the screaming of the mushroom people behind it.
No, I don't.
And you and Hobson sort of stand outside as the wind sort of picks up and blows the smell of rotting pumpkins across.
Ugh.
Are you all right, Emily? Ben's changed so much.
He's not real. None of this is real. He said it. He said it himself.
What do you mean?
Ben said that when they went through the door, they saw a different world. They experienced a different world, and it wasn't real. So
he said it showed them what they wanted to see, that what was inside them.
Right, so this is what's inside me, I guess. I went through the door with you.
And Hobson sort of takes a second to look around at the sort of decaying windmill and the rotting fields of pumpkins, and he looks at his hands, which are sort of horrific and gnarled, and he looks at you. Why is all this inside you, Emily?
It's been a long 22 years, Hobson.
I, I don't understand why. But what happened?
I mean, what didn't happen? You want me to start at the beginning? We're not gonna go through this.
And Hobson sort of stands. Emily, I can see it in everything here. There's so much pain.
Well then, we don't have to talk about it, because it's so evident, right? Let's go.
And he sort of stands there for a moment and sort of fights a bit of an urge and then follows you. And the path leads down sort of towards an area that looks sort of more like trees. And it sort of stops a little bit of the ways in, and before you see a large building, sort of a mansion.
Mm.
And there are lights on in the upper windows.
Okay, so here's my plan. If they're trying to eat tiny creatures, we book it. Got it?
Okay. And Hobson sort of steps off the path for a second, and he walks over, and he sits down on something. Emily?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, Hobson. I've been working through my shit.
And you
it's
see
just a lot, you know?
He's sitting on an overturned bathtub. And he sort of looks down at it, and he sort of like touches the ceramic of it, I guess. And it sort of has like a hollow thud. And the world around this area is sort of filled with pieces of broken glass and things like this overturned bathtub. And he looks back at you and he says, if what Ben said was true in this world is how you feel, I think maybe telling me might make you feel better.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. You could be right. I mean, yeah, okay. Alright. She, like, shuffles through the bits of broken glass and looks around at where Hobson has chosen to sit down, and is kind of, like, almost laughs to herself. Just like, ah. I think I'm sort of starting to get this place. It's the logic of it. Bathtub, the broken glass, the Hobson, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to drugs. You can't say that you were, because it's not something that goes away, so that's hard, because it feels like you can never get better, you know? But, so that's kind of what's up. I mean, that's part of what's up, at least. And it's been, it's been about 8 months. Yeah, since I've been clean. I was at Gately for 3 months, and then of course they ask you to do some volunteer work. So they placed me at Emerson, which has been really good, actually, really good. But I mean, not as good as smoking cocaine. Just something that totally ruined my life. I mean, I'm not quite sure where the ruining of the life started necessarily. Probably back at the car that we just ruined. But maybe you can blame my parents. I don't know, whatever. So my parents found me in this bathtub. Yeah, they found me smoking freebase, and they threw me out of their house. when I was 20. Yeah, 2 years ago. That was, I think that was close to rock bottom. What else do you want to know? Rabbit?
Emily, I'm so sorry. I think that we all make mistakes in our past. And I think you are such a good person. I've seen it in the way that you care for those creatures and the way that you care for Mr. Messner, and I want you to know that I don't think you're a bad person at all. That I think you're a strong person.
Well, thank you for what it's worth. Coming from a little stuffed animal. She gives him like a little shoulder, like an elbow to the side.
And as you do, you sort of look at him again, and you realize that his claws are less claw-like and more soft bunny-like. And his face, which sort of looks a bit monstrous before, looks a bit softer now and comfortable. And the slime on his fur now looks dry and soft. And altogether, he looks a lot more inviting. And he looks down back towards you and says, "You're not alone, Emily."
Thanks. I mean, that's sort of what like they teach you when you're going through the program and you are sharing all of your shit with everyone. Everyone hits rock bottom sometimes. And even if, you know, not everyone like stole from their own parents or like anyway, we all went through some shit. You ever done something you regretted, Hobson?
Not really. I once ended a life. I was driving up to the cottage and I hit a crow, and I thought maybe I could save its
With a
life.
rock.
It wasn't as big as the one that I grabbed your car with, but it was pretty big.
I know you.
And he sort of stands up and brushes himself off and says, "Should we get the thing from the house then?"
Let's get the thing.
I think Mr. Messner deserves to have his voice back, and I think he lost it in that house.
Alright. Let's go.
And the two of you walk towards the house. And as you approach the sort of steps towards it and stop at the door, he sort of holds down his little paw and says, "Should we knock, or?"
Let's just go in.
Okay. And you open the door, and there's sort of like an inviting fireplace lit, and sort of a high armback chair, which is empty. And sitting next to the armback chair is a box. It looks to be a music box.
Oh, nice. I've seen these before. She walks over to the music box and examines it, finds the crank, winds it up.
And you open it up, and it plays a familiar tune. What tune is it?
It's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
And as you sort of play it, and Hobson sort of stands in the doorway, you hear a voice coming from sort of a shadowy corner and says, "Are you planning on taking that then?"
Emily turns around.
And you see a man walk out from a dark corner. He's a 30-year-old-ish man. He's wearing sort of a neat suit.
Do I recognize him?
Do you? I don't know. What does he look like?
Yeah, he... Does he look like a younger version of Mr. Messner?
No, he looks like somebody from your past.
Does he look like a Davy?
Yes. He looks exactly like Davy. And he says, "Are you planning on taking that?"
Yeah, I thought I would. I mean, it's kind of like my thing where I like go into other people's homes and I take stuff that's not mine,
Yeah,
and then I
noticed
just sell them, you know.
Is that your plan with this too, to sell it?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna buy so much product, and I'm not gonna give you any of it. I'm fucking with you, obviously.
So what
I
do you
got
want?
clean, Davy.
Since when?
Since 8 months ago.
You don't want to be clean.
No, who does? It's been really hard. But you know what? I'm fucking proud of myself.
What do you have to be proud of yourself for?
Well, I'm not hanging around with lowlifes like you anymore. If that can be counted, I think that's a pretty good accomplishment. Yeah, not you, Doug and Ginger, none of these scumbags. I also have a lot of time now that I'm not spending comatose laying on your living room floor, so that's a bonus.
You seemed to really like it while we were doing it. You never seemed to complain all that much. You seem to have a lot of hate now for something that you really enjoyed doing.
Yeah, well, you really enjoy doing a lot of things when you're fucked up on coke.
Why are you angry at me?
Because you brought me here. Partly, Davy. You didn't even know it, but you were part of that rock bottom. You were part of me once, Davy. I think you were a part of me that came out in bits and pieces over a weekend 6 months ago, 6 months and 3 weeks ago. And I thank you for that awful experience. But I am done with you now.
I remember you saying that you loved this, that you loved the bliss and the ritual of it, and you loved the way that you felt.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you could smoke that much. If you could spend so many months, so many years of your life getting wasted and lying so much to your family and fucking up your life so much if you didn't like it. It's a drug. It literally does that to your brain. You're not an idiot, Davy. You know that.
So then?
So
and
then?
as you look down at the music box, which is shut, you have this urge to open it, and as you open it again, you see all the gear that you have inside it. So you still have a choice. And you stand in the well-lit fireplace room, Davy sort of to your left, and Hobson standing by the door to the exit to your right. And Davy stands there and says, "You and I spent 2 years getting high, stealing, selling, and you loved every minute of it. You hate this. You know you do. You hate being clean."
Yeah, yep, I do. I hate the monotony of it. I hate normal shit. I hate having to be somewhere any day of the week. I hate small talk with fucking teenagers. I hate the people that run the world. But I hate you more. And I think I'm gonna stay sober just to fuck you over, to show you that I am stronger than you. Eat shit, Davy. And she picks up the music box and grabs Hopkins's arm and strolls out of the house.
And as you do, and you walk down this sort of drive, the bathtub is now gone, and the trees, which looked gray, are now sort of green. And the sky, which was graying, is now brighter. And as you walk past the pumpkin patch, each pumpkin seems to have a little more life in it, and towards the woods, the trees begin growing back. Small little studs are growing out of the trunks, and by the time you reach the end of the path, Hobson looks like a beautiful black bunny, as he did in your mind. A full-size one, mind you. And you stand next to a large oak tree at the end of the path with a small door at the bottom of it. And Hobson stands next to you. I'm really proud of you, Emily. You had a choice, and I think you made the right one.
Thanks, Mr. Rabbit.
Please, I think Hobson's a much more fitting name now.
You're a good bunny. So long.
I'll be right behind you. And you bend down and open the door and begin crawling through. And when you open your eyes, you're lying on the floor of the boiler room, holding the small ratty bunny that Messner gave you and a music box.
She hugs that rabbit, and she kisses that rabbit on the top of his little furball head. And she picks up the music box, and she looks back where the door used to be.
And you no longer see it.
Emily goes upstairs, and it's early afternoon. Some time has gone by, but not too long. She brushes off some dirt on her hands and goes to see if Mr. Messner is there in his room. She walks by the door one time, the open doorway, kind of casually, and just looks in. And he's there, and he's looking at her. He knows she's coming. And she walks by again in the other direction. And she pretends like she's like walking downstairs. And then she walks by in the other direction like she's paddling a canoe. And he doesn't crack a smile, but his eyes are smiling. And she walks into the room and she says, "Thanks for lending me your rabbit, Mr. Messner. Hopkins is a really nice friend. I brought you a present. I thought maybe you'd like this. It's a music box." She puts it down on his bedside table, and she sits down on the end of his bed and she says, "Thanks for lending me that key this afternoon. I'm afraid that I lost it when I was gone. But thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I'll see you tomorrow. These are really, really nice drawings." And she stands up and she takes the drawing out of her back pocket that she had folded up, and unfolds it and smooths it out, and takes some tape and puts it back up on the wall. The image of his 3 friends and him and his rabbit. and she walks out the door, and she gives him a little wave, and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't change position on the bed. She walks down the hallway, and a minute passes, and he says, "Goodbye, Emily."
And we're going to end it there. Perfect. You can't hear the round of applause, but that was a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Wither. Round of applause again. Huge round of applause to the very talented Joe Fallak for doing such a fantastic job. Good job.
Thank you.
That was so fantastic.
Very emotional.
Yeah, you did a lot. You did a lot of really good stuff. I'm glad you went with the droid dealer at the end, because I didn't really.
I wasn't sure, so I wrote this like very long backstory, and just as a little bit of an interjection, we have a Patreon account, and for our followers, people who support us on Patreon get our campaign notes, so you're going to be able to read the full story of Emily. But when Harlan, you gave me the option for who I wanted to meet at the end, oh man.
Yeah, well,
the love. Messed
options.
Up people in this story.
But see, my logic was you could have done your father as a kid.
Yeah.
You could have done you as like a you could have changed it to a female, and that would have been fine too. I just wanted to see where your mind was at, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think
I had nothing planned. I was like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
No, that was really great. You did such a fantastic job.
You did such an amazing job too.
Oh, thank you.
You're too kind.
This will be one that we talk about probably at length in our monthly Patreon video. So if you want to hear behind the scenes stuff about this game, especially after the fact, make sure you subscribe for the $10 tier, because you get the cool behind the scenes stuff going on. But that's enough for now. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Let's do Endgame XP.
Oh, let's.
So many good people tonight.
Yeah.
So many new people too.
Yeah, let's give it to someone new.
I'm thinking Colin Burkhart.
Yeah, let's do it. Colin joined in the middle of the.
It was a journey of self-discovery and redemption, which
straight up.
It's true. And he gave a clap. That turned out to be a very wholesome ending. We had two endings, by the way, in mind. I had two in mind. And the other would have been a super fucking dark ending. I'm glad you went with this one, because I think it felt more wholesome.
I needed a little bit of lightness after the depths that we sunk to in the game. So
yes. Okay, so let's give it to our boy Colin.
Good job, Colin.
You win NXT. And who won mid game? Godpool, right?
Godpool, yeah, and then
Tyler won.
Leonard, yeah.
Perfect. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Been a pleasure. Next week, you're going to be doing another two-person.
I think we're going to finish off Basilisk next week. So if you were a fan of Basilisk, check out next week. If you haven't seen it yet, you should watch it, because I think you're a lot of fun. And that's going to be next week for Justin and I. So a lot of fun stuff coming up in the next few weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. Hope you have a fantastic night. My name is Harlan. I'm so happy that you guys hung out with me. As my very good friend Joe always likes to say,
it's my bedtime.
It's her bedtime, guys. Good night.
Bye.